Hi students, I'm so excited to share this method of revision with you. I often tell my students if there's only one thing you take with you from one of my classes, let this be it. It is the best way to make your writing better with the least amount of effort, and we love that, let's be honest. It's going to take your writing to a level of sophistication that will serve you well throughout the rest of your life and your career. And it works. So this method of revision is called the Paramedic Method. It was developed by Richard Lanham in his book Revising Prose, which was published in 1979. So it's been around a long time, and I feel like I was one of the only teachers teaching it and utilizing it. And in the last probably decade, I've seen a lot of other teachers talking about this method. There's now a page about it on the Purdue Online Writing Lab. So it's not just me, other people are seeing how wonderful this method of revision is. So here's a little bit about the why. Richard Lanham began to notice that students were writing really fluffy sounding papers that didn't have a lot of substance. It sounded smart, it sounded elevated, it sounded what they thought, what the students thought was academic, but it wasn't really saying much at the end of the day. It wasn't showcasing their ideas, and it was just a lot of fluff, or what he called lard. So he developed this method of revision to help students really see that they need to understand what they're writing, and that at the end of the day, clarity is king. If your audience can't understand what you're saying, your purpose isn't going to be effective. You are not going to achieve your purpose for writing. And oftentimes, if the audience can't tell what you're trying to say, the truth is you probably didn't know what you were trying to say either. So he developed this method to help students revise and revitalize their writing in a way that sounds more like them. Now, this can be a little bit difficult initially for students because they're so used to what they believe is academic sounding writing. Fluffy words, long wind-ups, using all those SAT vocabulary words. That's what you might think good writing is. And the truth is that that's not it. So sometimes students have a little bit of a hard time making that mental shift as to what academic writing is. They also have a little bit of a hard time because using the paramedic method often means that their word count gets reduced, and then they have to put more ideas in their paper that have substance and that are thoughtful. So it really does cut through a lot of that fluff in your writing, and sometimes that can be challenging because then you have to go back and add in more ideas of substance. So those are the only things that students kind of feel a little bit of resistance. Once they start utilizing the paramedic method, it becomes easier for them. They do it more naturally, and it helps them develop their own true voice in writing. So I love seeing writing transform while using the paramedic method. So to show you the paramedic method, I used to actually bring in a DVD that I bought that is Richard Lanham's DVD Revising Prose, and now there are very few DVD players in the world. So I found it on YouTube, and we will just watch a very small portion of it just for fun because it is from a different time. It looks like it was made like in Microsoft Paint, and it's very low technology, but it's just, sometimes it's kind of funny to look at some of these artifacts from the past. So let me bring up the video for you.
In revising prose, you've read about what has come to be the dominant prose style in contemporary America, a style we've called the official style. You've also had some practice in a quick emergency revision procedure, the Paramedic Method, or PM. In this lesson, we're going to use TV graphics to show you how the PM works. First, though, let's review both the official style and the PM.
So what he calls the official style is what I think a lot of students grow up thinking is academic writing. So I'm going to skip a little bit ahead to what the official style sounds like or looks like. So he's going back in history here a little bit. And this is, when people were trying to have ornamented language in, Greco-Roman history, they would say things like this.
And the grain tax he extorted from the peasants was called the Happy Shipment, much as our own Atomic Energy Commission at one time rechristened the standard measurement of deadly atomic radiation a sunshine unit. Such oily, nervy euphemism characterizes the official style from the beginning until yesterday's newspaper, which reports multimodal interface as a new name for a bus station with a bicycle rack, or reconstruction of community infrastructure for the repair of a cinder block wall. Bureaucrats are people who put a face on things. And for the official stylist, impersonality comes as naturally as fancy names for plain objects. Never say, I think he's an idiot, or I fired him, but rather, appropriate action was initiated on the basis of systematic discussion, indicating that the termination process would be appropriate. First, put everything in the passive voice, not I decided, but it was decided by me, and then get the me out and let the action float in an impersonal construction. It was decided that. Above all, the official style is a noun style, emphasizing stasis, inaction, rather than action. The official writer makes all his natural verbs into nouns, and then uses a form of to be, the weakest, most lifeless, colorless verb, so as to give the sentence grammatical completeness. Thus, this sentence needs an active verb. He plays energetically becomes there is a great deal of energy in his play. When you hide the action in a noun like this, you lose track of who is doing what to whom, or who is kicking who.
Now, I want you to keep in mind with this that there are times when this noun style does have a purpose. For those of you going into scientific or technical writing, things like engineering, or you're going to be writing lab reports, you are going to want that objectivity. You are going to want to say things like the experimented was conducted, the results indicated, and that is appropriate. However, for the type of academic writing that you're doing in my class, this is not what we want. And Lanham goes on to explain why this occurred. When the soft sciences came about, we wanted to sound more official, right? We wanted to sound more serious. So using more euphemisms, using this noun style, using passive voice, taking a long time to get going, was how they kind of established this very fancy, official sounding writing. But it's not what people like to read. It's not, at the end of the day, what students like to write. This doesn't sound like you. This sounds like robot students trying to sound academic. It's not your true voice. And in writing for my first year writing classes, in writing for my business writing classes, this is not what we want to see. If you wrote an email like this, nobody's going to read it. Nobody's going to know what you're saying. If you write a, research-based proposal or your local issues paper in this style, your audience isn't going to understand what you're proposing. So we want to get away from this. And to get away from this, Richard Lanham teaches us the Paramedic Method. And he goes and with his TV graphics, he shows you how, to do all of this kind of lard factor removal. So we can let's look at one example that he gives us, and then we'll look at a couple real life examples as well.
Yes, no long wind-ups. Here are some examples from a recent sociobiology text. There is a good deal of circumstantial evidence in support of this scheme. First, the prepositions. Notice how the rhythm of the sentence immediately gets monotonous? I'll exaggerate the effect a little with my voice to underline it for you. There is a good deal of circumstantial evidence in support of this scheme. It sounds like a list. See what I mean? The sentence comes to look and sound like a laundry list. Now for step 2 of the paramedic method. Find the is. Notice what a lame beginning the there is formula provides for a sentence. The perfect opening formula for a laundry list. Guaranteed monotony. There is a good deal of circumstantial evidence in support of this scheme. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum, and so on to slumberland. Once you choose the there is plus prepositional phrases formula, you are locked into this guaranteed monotony. How do you get out? Well, ask, rule 3 of the paramedic method, who's kicking who? Obviously, the kicker is circumstantial evidence. Let's begin there. What is this evidence doing? Where's the action? Buried way down there in support, of course. We'll disinter it. All right, we've now followed rule 4 of the paramedic method. And who's the kickee, the direct object on the receiving end? This scheme. Now, how about the long wind-up opening? There is a good deal of. No need for there is any longer, since we have a real live verb in supports. A good deal of is a long-winded way to say much. Now, the completed revision reads, much circumstantial evidence supports this scheme. We have now complied with Rule 5 of the paramedic method. Start fast.
Okay, so basically, if you look back at that, you can see that we got rid of a lot of the fluff, a lot of the lard. We get right to the point, which is what you want to do in revision. Now, what's nice is we can get this paramedic method without the TV graphics. Right here, there are our steps for the paramedic method. Circle the prepositions, draw a box around the is form of the verb. So is, are, any form of that to be verb. Ask where is the action, change the action into a more dynamic verb. Eliminate slow windups, eliminate redundancies. Okay, then the Purdue Owl kind of shows some examples here, but let's look at examples from real life students here. Here we have a lovely example of a student bio. Let's just look here. Is, has, he has. We do have a nice verb there. And then again, is. Subject, verb, subject, verb, subject, verb. And the verbs are boring. So let's see if we can do better using the paramedic method. Now, could you go through by yourself and do each of those steps? You absolutely could, but I'm a big fan of utilizing the technology at our fingertips. So I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. WordTune is great. And when you click the shorten version of revision in WordTune, it's basically going to apply the paramedic method. So let's see what happens if we click shorten. Okay, I think maybe it wants us to do, we'll split it up into pieces a little bit. All right, here we go, shorten. Then we can choose belongs to several clubs and organizations. Ooh, I like that. Belongs is a better verb. He is a justice, da-da-da-da-da. Let's see. What if we did this? As a justice on the Greek Review Board, he oversees the actions of Greek life organizations. Come on. That's better, isn't it? So you can use WordTune to kind of behind the scenes use the paramedic method. It's just making your writing more concise and changing some of the sentence structures to be more dynamic. Now, what's cool about ChatGPT specifically is I can give it a very specific prompt. Use Richard Lanham's Paramedic Method to revise this paragraph. Tell me the changes you made and how it improved the readability and flow of the paragraph. And then I'm going to copy and paste the rest of it here. Okay, and then it tells you, eliminates unnecessary words, eliminates passive constructions, simplifies the structure, combines sentences, and it tells you how to do it. So yes, is this doing a little bit of the work for you? It is. But what's great about this is it is empowering you to make choices. When you use things like WordTune, you now get to make choices, and you are making rhetorical choices about how you want to say things. What best represents your intent and purpose behind what you are writing? I'm here for that. Okay? You can choose what your true voice sounds like in your head. With ChatGPT, it rewrites it for you and revises it, but then you go through and you understand the why, the how, and now you can start doing this on your own as you do more writing. You can kind of edit, combine as you go, make things more concise as you go, and things like that. So you can use the Paramedic Method on your own and apply it that way, step by step, like Richard Lanham showed us in his video. You can plug in pieces of your writing into some of these tools to help you get to a more concise and readable, understandable type of writing that better represents what you're trying to say and what you feel your true voice sounds like. If you have a good understanding, you can stop the video right here. If you'd like to see another example, we can look at another example right now. Let's see. This is a great example. This student did a lovely job in writing, but I think we can still do a little bit better in terms of some of the elevated language here. Largely stems from. This is a long sentence. Prejudice is not only harmful. We've got an is form of the verb there. We do have a better verb down here, but it does take us a little while to get to our point. I wonder if we can do better. Obviously, I changed the name in our bio, by the way. All right, let's see. Let's see if they can improve this one for us. I do that. I like that. In American culture, younger individuals subconsciously hold biases, contributing to the population's social isolation. I like that. I think that sounds more like a real person, like a freshman student wrote that. Okay, let's take this little bit, and here, just for fun, never, never expand. We don't need more fluff. But let's see what it tells us. Oh no, this sounds like the student writing I get. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but there is a tendency. Look at this. This is noun style, official style at its finest. There is a tendency among younger Americans to hold subconscious biases towards society's most senior members, making it difficult for the elderly to engage in social activities. Oh my goodness. This needs the paramedic method so badly. Is a tendency to hold. And then we've got prepositional phrases. So never expand. That makes it so much worse. Never expand it. But you can see, there we go. I liked that. Or American culture. I liked what it said. did it say? Oh no, oh no, I guess you can't do that. Learning every day. How do I go back to the way it was? I guess I can't. Bummer. I like what we had before about in American culture. But yeah, so now let's take this and we're gonna do this in ChatGPT. Do the same with this paragraph. I'm too lazy to type out the prompt again. Instead of prejudice is harmful, now we have prejudice harms. It's a much more active verb. To counter the negative effects, we should develop this. Yep. Okay, so you can see that as you do this more and more, you will start choosing more active verbs. You will start cutting down on those unnecessary words and passive constructions. As you do it more and more, your writing will sound more like you, less robotic, less, stuffy, and overall, it's going to be more effective in achieving your purpose for writing.